Hey guys, Max Weigert here. So this video was inspired by a conversation I had yesterday with Dr. Anders Ericsson. He's, as many people call him, the expert of experts. So for the last 30 years, what he's done is he has studied the best of the best in the world to understand what makes them the best, right? So whether it's in sports and arts and music and chess and medicine, what he does is he looks at the best in the world and tries to understand what allowed them to get to this level of expertise and mastery. And so starting in the 1990s, he started looking at the Berlin School of Music and did his first studies there. And what he found there was that the amount of practice that we put in determines the results we get. So what he found is that independent of genetics, independent of innate talent or whatever it is, the more you practice, the better you become at virtually any kind of skill. And so in this really groundbreaking study at this time, what he found is that at the age of 20, the best violinists in the school had accumulated, the ones that would go on to become world-class violinists, they had accumulated on average 10,000 hours. While the ones that were really good but not quite extraordinary had accumulated 8,000 hours. At the same time, the people that were good but not great, right? The people who go on to become music teachers usually, as he would say, they accumulated only 4,000 hours. So by the age of 20, what you see here is there's a huge gap in just thousands and thousands of hours that people accumulated that in the end determined how well they were able to perform. And so that was really the main key aspect that we're talking about, exactly how much does it really take to become the best. And what you also said was that over the long run, because at 20 they weren't the best yet. So in order to really become the best in the world, in order to really win these grand tournaments or musical things, whatever it is, it took to 20 to 25,000 hours. And these numbers or these scales, really numbers, are really independent of what you do. Was he an athlete? Was he a musician? Whether you're a doctor? Whatever it is that you're trying to master, that you're trying to really become world class at, it's going to take several tens of thousands of hours of something that he calls deliberate practice. And this is really another key, because deliberate practice essentially is very different from naive practice, from what most people do. So when most people want to get better, what they do is they simply do the thing, right? You want to get better playing the guitar, you just go and play the guitar, right? Or you go for a run if you want to become a better runner. But what he found in his research is that just doing something over and over and over again doesn't actually improve performance. In fact, what researchers found that he done is that doctors, after 20 years of being a doctor doesn't actually make you a better doctor than being a doctor for 5 years. Because once people reach a certain level of skill, an adequate and sort of acceptable level of skill, they stop improving if they don't deliberately create better performance practices. And so this is exactly where deliberate practice comes in. Because deliberate practice, in contrast to naive practice, to just doing something over and over again, deliberate practice involves setting clear goals, having a clear plan for how exactly you're going to get better. What exactly are the skills and tools and strategies that you want to learn today to get better? And it also involves feedback, right? Directly hearing back from some kind of mentor or teacher, or maybe even yourself. How well am I actually doing right now? And then the most important thing is also requires effortful practice, right? Deliberate practice is hard, it's difficult, it's not that fun, right? It's not that easy because you have to strain your body and mind to the utmost limits. You have to really go to the edge of your limits, to the edge of your capabilities, and play right there and practice right there, because that is the only way to increase your level, to get a little bit better. And so this is really powerful stuff, but none of this obviously is too groundbreaking. What he found also though is that, and this really blew me away, is that one other key factor that distinguished the best of the best with the ones that were really good but not quite extraordinary was they slept more, they recovered more. In fact, the best violinists ended up sleeping about 8.5 hours compared to 7 hours that most of the other ones were sleeping. It's a huge difference of 1.5 hours, mostly what he found in the form of naps. So what the best of the best would do is, they wake up in the morning and they start to practice, right? They put in 2-3 hours of practice. And then what they do is they take a nap, they get some rest, they hang out with friends, they'd, actively recover, maybe go for a run or walk or meditate or whatever it is. And then in the afternoon, they'd have a second practice. And then again, they'd take a power nap, or they'd do something to really recover themselves. And what he found was that aspect of not just training more than anybody else, but also recovering more is so key. Because any athletes here listening to this, you're going to understand this, right? If you go to a gym, or if you go for a run like me, and you overdo it constantly every day, right? You're just running too many miles, you're lifting too much weight, what's going to happen is you overstress your body, you overtrain, right? And eventually, you actually start getting worse rather than better, because your body basically can't handle anymore. It can't adapt as quickly. The same goes for the mind. If you don't give yourself adequate rest to recover and adapt the mental constructs in your mind, really, in your brain, then what's going to happen is you're going to burn out. You're going to get tired, and after a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months, you're going to quit. And so taking deliberate time every day to recover is so key here. And what's important to remember here is there's certain ways that actually do work to recover us, and there's ways that people oftentimes do that don't. So things like social media, for example, and movies. Those are really the two most common things. Maybe smoking, even if we put that in there. Those are food. Those are sort of the most common ways for people to seek relaxation, recovery. But what the research has shown is it actually doesn't work. Your brain is still high speed going on. When you're checking your phone on Instagram or whatever it is, right? You're looking at all those pictures. What happens is your brain is still firing all the time. It's so active in that moment that you don't have time to calm down and relax and recover. And so essentially what this means is, if you're a student, for example, right, and you're between study sessions, what you do is you take out your phone and you just, texting people and being busy there. What happens is your brain doesn't actually have time to recover. And so what you want to do instead is you want to do some deliberate recovery, deliberate resting that allows you then to go back and perform at your best. So the things that are really powerful here are things like meditation, right? Just sitting down for 10 minutes, closing your eyes, doing some deep breathing, right? What I love doing also is going for little walks, right? Ideally in nature. If you have any kind of trail, the beach, the forest, whatever it is, a park, just going out in nature for a quick walk and really activating your body again physically is so powerful. Another thing that's really powerful has been shown by research is social interactions, right? Just hanging out with friends, maybe going for lunch, with them and in between, and really taking some time to have good conversations, to not worry about studying or not worry about what you're doing, but you actually enjoy and recover, right? And so those are some really good ideas that you can start using to actively recover in between your work. Because if we just look at the research, initial research that just shows that basically the more hours you work, the better you're going to become. The obvious conclusion from that would be, let me just work 15 hours a day. But what happens is when you work 15 hours a day, your brain turns off. It doesn't work. You can't, and I see this so many times, like people, students especially, go to a library for like 10 hours and try to just knock it out for a week, right? What happens is though, if you don't give your brain adequate rest, both between days and within the days even, right? After 2 hours or so, you need mental rest, maybe even earlier than that, right? If you don't do that, what's going to happen is you try to download so much information into your brain, but your brain won't hardwire it into the neural structures of your brain, which means that essentially nothing sticks. So most people, when they try to gain mastery, they simply do it in a way that actually isn't aligned with the way that the brain works. And so this key here is really, the key is really fundamentally to remember is you've got to work hard, incredibly long hours if you want to get great at anything. But at the same time, what you want to do is you want to recover better than anybody else. Because essentially what happens is it's a recovery process that actually makes you great, right? It's not the training. It's not the practice. When you go for a run, right? When you're going out there and you're putting in the miles, it's not when you get better. You're actually stressing your body, and for a second it dips down, right? If this is homeostasis, right? Your body's natural response. If you go running, it actually dips down your performance. And for a while, for a couple hours, you're actually worse off. But then what happens is your brain and your body adapt and go back up. And ideally, they go a little bit further than they were before. And so what this means is that recovery is really the key to getting better, because that's exactly when your brain adapts. That's exactly when your body adapts and actually grows stronger. And so you want to make sure that you don't only work harder than anybody else, and you don't only work smarter through deliberate practice, right? So deliberately seeking out the skills, setting goals, setting clear schedules for how exactly you're going to improve, but you also take the time every day to recover, to get enough sleep, to get enough active recovery through meditation, through walks, through sports, through whatever it is that hanging out with friends, whatever it is that really you just love doing, right? That actually makes you come alive. And so guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be releasing my interview with Anders Ericsson sometime in January. Really epic interview, 1 hour, 15 minutes of just pure, really the science of what makes people great. I really loved it. So I hope you enjoy your day. All the best and see you soon.